everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film a very exciting video. This is the Book Naturalist Book Club's 2023 picks for our reading list for the whole year. Doris from All the Books, my co-host, and I have spent some time and selected these books for the whole year, and so I'm just going to go over the whole list with you right now. I have my notes right here in front of me, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. But let's just get to it because we have 12 months of books to go through. Very excited for these books. I'm very excited for a new year of the Book Naturalist Book Club where we read books that are mostly nature nonfiction, but we also toss in some other genres in there every once in a while just to keep things spicy. So in January, we will be reading A Year in the Maine Woods by Bernd Heinrich. And this is sort of a classic of nature nonfiction that is exactly what it says on the tin. This book was first published in 1994. And this is his story of moving to a cabin in the remote Maine woods that had no electricity, no running water, and living there for a full year and describing what he experienced. So very much looking forward to this. I've had this one on the shelf for over a year and just waiting for us to get to it for the Book Naturalist Club. So that's going to be fun. Then in February, which is also, of course, Black History Month, we're going to be reading A Bigger Picture, My Fight to Bring a New African Voice to the Climate Crisis by Vanessa Nakate. Vanessa Nakate is from Uganda, and she has been a young person involved in the climate movement, and she very much is seeking to bring people's attention to the fact that whole segments of the world's population have sort of been left out of the discussion, overlooked. And so her book is a part manifesto and part memoir about calling basically for environmental and social justice for those who have been left out of the climate discussion, who've been excluded from the climate discussion. I think that's going to be a really excellent pick for February. In March, we will be reading To Speak for Trees by Diana Beresford-Kroegen. Excuse me on that one. This was first published in 2019 in Canada, and the subtitle for this one is My Life's Journey from Ancient Celtic Wisdom to a Healing Vision of the Forest. And Diana was born in Ireland, and she was brought up in that culture, and she describes how this early foundation in Ireland led her to make some really groundbreaking ideas around forests and the importance of forests and trees. So that will be the pick for March, which also coincides with the Irish Readathon. In April, we will be reading Call of the Reed Warbler by Charles Massey, which was first published in 2017 in Australia. This one fits right in with the Australian Readathon that usually happens in April. And this one is a discussion of the food supply and the Australian landscape and our planet and how those things are intertwined. And hopefully it will lead to some ideas and some greater thinking about food farming and how we actually grow our food. Then in May, we will be doing an author spotlight. And this is one of my favorite science and nature nonfiction authors. We'll be focusing on Sonia Shah's work. And I have two books of hers that I've already read. First of which is Pandemic, which traces how disease spreads across the globe and what actually constitutes a pandemic. I've read this book twice now and highly recommend it. And then the other book of hers that I have read is The Great Migration, The Beauty and Terror of Life on the Move. And this book talks about how migration is a natural process, and it's only been in modern times that it's really been seen as this thing to be feared and fought against in some way. And through this book, she goes through different examples of how people and animals move around the globe and how it's a natural process. So this one and this one would be two options that you could read, or you could read any of the other books that Sonia Shah has written. In June, our author spotlight will be on Jamaica Kincaid, which coincides with Caribathon. So Jamaica Kincaid has written a lot of novels, but she's also written some nonfiction that is very nature oriented. The one that I've read in the past is A Small Place, which is her essay basically a long essay talking about the impacts of tourism on her home country of Antigua. So this was excellent, really excellent read. 2 other books by her that I am thinking about getting so that I can read during that month are Among Flowers, A Walk in the Himalaya, which was first published in 2005 and is about her traveling through Nepal and climbing in the Himalayas. And then one that was published in 2001 called My Garden, which is all about her love of gardening and plants and growing her garden in the state of Vermont. So any of those would do, or any of Jamaica Kincaid's work would do in June for the author spotlight. And in July, we will be having an author spotlight on Cy Montgomery. And I have read a couple of Cy Montgomery's books. The one that I have in my library is The Soul of an Octopus, a surprising exploration into the wonder of consciousness. I love this book. This was a beautiful book. Cy Montgomery writes about her relationship with animals in a very cozy way. Her books are like warm hugs, I would say. Very endearing, very charming. So you could read any of Cy Montgomery's works in order to participate in the Book Naturalist Book Club in the month of July. Then in August, for Women in Translation Month, we will be reading a work of translated nonfiction. This is Extraordinary Insects, the Fabulous Indispensable Creatures Who Run Our World by Anne Sverdrup-Thygeson. Sorry if that is incorrect pronunciation. It is translated from the Norwegian by Lucy Moffat. And this is exactly what it says on the tin. It's just a look at all the weird and wonderful insects that exist in the world and their importance and why we should all be paying a lot more attention to the fate of insects. Really excited about that one. And then that was for Women in Translation Month in August. In September, we will be reading Every Day the River Changes, 4 Weeks Down the Magdalena by Jordan Salama. And this is a book that was first published in 2021. Salama is an American writer of Argentinian, Syrian, and Iraqi Jewish descent. So this book, I think, will hit a few of the themes maybe that are running in, I think Hispanic Heritage Month or Latinx Heritage Month starts midway through September. So this would hit for that. And this nonfiction tells his story of traveling down the Magdalena River and also tells the history of the river itself. The river is in Colombia. And has a very storied history, and a lot of things have been impacted because of the use of the Magdalena as a travel route. So that will be a very interesting book indeed. In October, we will be reading River of the Gods by Candice Millard. I love Candice Millard. I've read a couple of her other books, the one about Teddy Roosevelt going on an exploratory trip in the Amazon basin after he was president, and then her book about the assassination of James Garfield, both of which were excellent. This is her latest book, River of the Gods, which the subtitle is Genius, Courage, and Betrayal in the Search for the Source of the Nile. It was published in 2022, so it's a brand new nonfiction. And really it is I would assume, going to have her trademark sense of adventure and talking about the history of this particular place on the earth. I don't know much about the Nile and the search for the headwaters of the Nile, but I imagine that I will find that book very interesting. And then in November, we will be doing another author spotlight, and this time for an Indigenous author. And the author is Linda Hogan, who is a Chickasaw writer. And she's written tons of books, both fiction and nonfiction. I will probably be picking up some of her nonfiction. I've looked at The Radiant Lives of Animals, which is a collection of essays and poems discussing the author's connection and relationship with different animals. And then she also has another one called Dwellings, A Spiritual History of the Living World. And so both of those sound very interesting. She has quite a few very interesting novels as well. So I would encourage you to search out her backlist and take a peek at what would work best for you to read in the month of November for our author spotlight on Linda Hogan. And then Finally, in December, we're going to go a little bit off the beaten path and we're going to read a mystery novel because December is always Cloak and Dagger Christmas mystery reading. So for this one, we're going to read A Solitude of Wolverines by Alice Henderson. And this is the first book in a mystery series which features a young woman who is a wildlife biologist, Alex Carter, and she's very committed to saving endangered species and to working with wildlife, and she gets wrapped up in some mysteries. And in this first one, she is studying, doing some research on wolverines in Montana and gets wrapped up in a mystery. So very excited for that. And it'll be something different because we've never read a mystery in the club before. So that'll be a first for us. So that will be fun. So I will leave a list in the discussion box down below of all the titles, all the author spotlights, everything that you need to know for 2023. So you can start planning your reading and trying to find copies of all of these great books. I think it's going to be fabulous. I know that reading the Book Naturalist Book Club picks every month has really broadened my horizons and brought me into contact with a bunch of authors that I had never encountered before and have had such a great time doing it. So I hope that you will join us, Doris and I, as we start up a new year of Book Naturalist Book Club reading. And so I should also mention that the way that we talk about these books mostly these days is through a video at the end of each month where Doris and I will post a video separately on our own individual channels where we discuss the book from that month and what we thought of it, basically our review of it. And you can comment in the comment section down below of those videos and let us know what you thought of it. You can also find us over on Instagram. The Book Naturalist Book Club has its own Instagram, or Doris and I both have our individual Instagrams, and you can talk to us over there about any of these books as well. I just want to spread the love of science and nature nonfiction with all of you. So yeah, I think that will do it. Please let me know down below if you have any questions or anything you need to tell me. I'd be very happy to answer any questions that I could in the comments. And I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read. I'll talk to you later.